Hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Know your planets, know yourself. And today's video, basically I just felt like I really just had to quickly get stuck in on this one. As you may or may have not seen, although it is literally global news right now, we discover that a certain Donald Trump has tested positive for the coronavirus. Now, those of you that watch my channel will know that I've recently done a 4-part mini-series on Donald Trump, on his chart here. And the reason why I did a four-part mini-series is because Trump's chart is extraordinary. It is a very, very unusual chart. Now, there's something very important here. Now, I did make my last video, the 4th video, was basically about Trump's 12th house and his demise, yeah, how he would likely be brought down. And I said on record, and I actually blogged about this today, in my last video about Trump, I said Trump would be brought down because the 12th house is the house of losses and other things, but it's also known as the house of losses, etc. But in that house, he, as a Leo ascendant, the sign of Cancer, which is also the sign of women, becomes the 12th house of losses. But planet Venus is also women, young women in particular, and it's with Pluto and it's with Saturn, which are two very challenging, difficult planets. So from that, I concluded that Trump's downfall, as it were, would come via a woman. And we learn that it is from one of his young female aides called Hope. Her first name's Hope. Her last name just escapes me. Was it Adkins? You know, anyway. But her first name is Hope, ironically. So it's likely that he caught the infection from her or from one of his rallies. Either way, the main person in the frame is a woman. Now, this is very, very tricky, and this video, although, you know, sometimes it's kind of a bit like the Boris Johnson one, yeah, where now at the moment it is being said that Trump has only got mild symptoms, yeah, only mild symptoms. But remember, they also said the same for Boris Johnson. Remember, they always tend to play down these things. Now let's remember this. Johnson is a man in his mid-50s, and he was lucky to escape with his life. He had mild symptoms, what was it, for like the first 10 days, and then he went rapidly downhill. Trump is 74 years old. He weighs, what is it, 225 pounds, or basically 17 stone, 17.5 stone. Although he is 6'3", but you know, he's very overweight, as they say, obese, which is already a major risk factor. So he's got the risk factor of age, and then he's got the risk factor of obesity, and on top of that, he's got a bit of a ticky, you know, a bit of a dodgy heart. And he doesn't eat well, apparently. Apparently he eats lots of burgers and hot dogs. So I don't think there's much fruit and veg going on with Trump. Now, he could just sail through, yeah? He could just sail through. He's got brilliant doctors around him. But it all depends on how the body responds. But I thought I would share some very significant stuff about Donald Trump's chart that we actually need to pay attention to, because the planets don't stop moving, and there are transits and there are mahadashas. So I've actually got up Trump's chart on my screen. Let's go back to his main screen. But there is very significant stuff going on. Now, there is an astrologer that I've taken lessons with called Sam Jeppy. He's an excellent astrologer from America. And he was actually looking at Trump's chart. And he said at the moment when Trump sent his tweet notifying of the positive test, the moon was going through Trump's 8th house. This is very significant. The 8th house is the house of death, shocks and surprises, yeah, house of death. So, and the moon, according to Sam Geppy, is very significant for Trump when it's full, because he was born on a full moon, because Mr. Trump was born on an eclipse. Not only was he born on a full moon, he was born on an eclipse. What we see here, the sun is opposite, and you've got Rahu and Ketu, the north and south nodes of the moon, eclipsing that point on his birth. Trump is about to have what is called a nodal return. This is when the nodes, which go backwards, so they go like this, so the planets go this way, the nodes go this way, where they come back every 18.5/19 years or so to the original place where they were before. And this is always a dramatic shift in one's life in some way. So this is already coming. In fact, there is a big eclipse happening on the 14th of December, and that will not only be an eclipse that falls on Donald Trump's moon here, but it will also be his nodal return as well. This is highly significant, but it is not a very good omen, and I will go into the details of why that is. So I already explained on the day that he tweeted, the moon, transiting moon, was in his 8th house. But there's more. Ketu, the south node, is moving backwards and is currently right next to, basically right on top of Trump's moon. Now, when I check my screen here, now in Trump's birth chart, Ketu is at 27 degrees 41 minutes. Remember, the nodes move backwards. So they enter a house at a higher degree, and then that degree gets lower. At the moment, via transit, Ketu is at 28 degrees 34 minutes of Scorpio in the nakshatra of Jyeshta. Trump's moon is at 28 degrees 5 minutes. In 6 days' time, or thereabouts, Ketu will fall exactly on Trump's moon. Now, what does the moon represent? The moon represents the mind, the emotions, how we're feeling about things. The moon is so powerful, you can actually use it as an alternative ascendant. Now, this is very significant. And the way I see this manifesting, this can go one of two ways. Either Trump, because Ketu is exalted in Scorpio, Trump will either have an epiphany where he could have some profound spiritual experience and basically kind of wake up. Let me have a little slurp. From all of the cray-cray and the madness that he's been doing. Or it could actually represent some kind of severe psychotic episode, some kind of breakdown, or some other significant loss in some shape or form, perhaps also to do with women as well, because remember, the moon also represents women. But either way, it's going to be very significant, because we've seen the moon is already within 1 degree. I mean, Ketu, which is the south node, the tail part of the dragon, which represents spirituality through loss. So this is a node very closely associated with loss, which is joining up with the luminary of the mind, which is soon to be eclipsed on December 14th. This is highly significant. Now, that you could argue that eclipse is already underway. Because why? Because Trump has already tested positive, but it's early days. That eclipse is due, that effect of Ketu, that loss-making effect of Ketu, is only going to get stronger because it's not yet past the moon. It's not passed over. It's just at the beginning of the house. So it's literally on the moon, and then it's going to be literally exactly on top of it in 6 days. So it could be a case that maybe Trump is all right for a while, and then suddenly on that day he takes a dip, or he suddenly recovers. The nodes of the moon are very extreme. It seems like I'm covering my bases here, but they're very unpredictable. But either way, they have a profound and sudden effect. And we've already seen this because that's already proved, because he's tested positive for COVID. So boom, that's already something. So just bear in mind, Ketu is right on top of that moon, putting a lot of scrutiny and a lot of pressure on that moon, because at the very least, Trump has got a lot of questions to answer, even if he makes it out squeaky clean, which I'm not sure if he will, and I'll explain why. So I've spoken about Ketu. Something else that is significant, what I want to say as well, is, little fly there, is that at 4:27 p.m. UK time on December the 14th, 2020, there will be a full eclipse on Trump's moon. It's a solar eclipse, but the sun, by its transit at this point, will be in Scorpio in Jeshta. Remember, I use sidereal astrology. So when I look that up, there are so many insignificant planets that are there. So you have the sun, you have the moon, which have to come together for a solar eclipse. It's also known as the new moon. But we also have Ketu. We also have Venus, and we've also got Mercury involved with that eclipse in Donald Trump's chart, and it's happening in the 4th house. Now, the 4th house also refers to the heart. Yes, the heart. So he's having a malefic in the area of his heart with both of his luminaries, which are being eclipsed at the same time. Now, what actually happens is this. When the moon is dark, it is malefic. The sun itself represents the vitality, etc., but it's a mild malefic, but it's being eclipsed by another malefic, which is Ketu. And Mercury takes on the energies of whoever he's with. So Mercury will be a malefic as well. And that only leaves Venus. But that house is basically being overpowered by negative forces in the 4th house of the emotions, of real estate, but also the heart. This is looking to me almost like some kind of like heart failure. Remember that also as well, the 4th house deals with home. This can also refer to the White House, to the homeland of America. This is very significant, very, very, very significant. But to add to that even more, planet Mercury, which is here in the 11th house of gains for Donald Trump. Mercury is a very powerful planet for Leos, by the way, because it rules the 11th house of gains. But it also rules the 2nd house of wealth. Now you might think, oh, well, that's not bad. Yes, it's a very positive, very powerful thing that Mercury does for Leo ascendants, because he rules both houses of money. This is often why Leos can become exceptionally wealthy. However, the 2nd house is also a death-inflicting house, because you have the 8th house, you have the 7th house, which is also known as a marker house, which can inflict death. The 8th house is a natural one, I think if I said that already, but also the 2nd house. The 2nd house is also a house of death. And Mercury rules that house in Trump's chart via Virgo. But also in Trump's natal chart, we have Jupiter retrograde. And Jupiter is also the ruler of the 8th house. Remember the 8th house of death? And Neptune plays a big role in taking people out of this world, because it's an otherworldly planet, but it's also a planet of mystery. But it's very often, it's very involved in death. And in Trump's chart, it sits in the 2nd house. So this has given him this incredible ability to cast illusions with his speech, but it's dangerous. It can be a little bit dangerous to have the Neptune in the 2nd house, because it's a dissolving planet. And also as well, Ketu is in the 2nd house as well. I mean, not Ketu, Chiron is in the 2nd house of Trump's chart, when Chiron is the wounded healer. Yeah. So this is not looking good. Also as well, on top of that, when this eclipse happens, Mars is going to be in Donald Trump's 8th house. It's said it's not good to have Mars either transiting or in the 8th house, because it is a natural because it's a natural indicator of, you know, accidents and things going wrong. Mars in the 8th house in your chart is not good. He tends not to be there for long, because sometimes he might only be there for maybe a month or 2 months or so. However, due to the retrograde motion of Mars over these next few months, because Mars doesn't go direct until December, Mars is going to be in Trump's 8th house pretty much up until mid-December. Certainly it's still going to be there while the eclipse happens, while Trump's luminaries and also his 2nd lord and his 12th lord, which is the house of love, are all being eclipsed at the same time. On top of this, Trump is basically in his Jupiter, he's in his Jupiter Saturn Mahadasha. In fact, well, according to my software, where the I Numsha, which in terms of how the horizon is calculated, is slightly calibrated, slightly different. For me, he's not in Mars Saturn, but he's actually in Jupiter Ketu from the 4th of April 2020. And Ketu, again, is about losses. And this eclipse is coming up. Ketu is already affecting Trump's moon, and he's in Jupiter Ketu Mahadasha. This means that Ketu is highly active at the moment. Ketu is also exalted in the sign of Scorpio, which you might think, oh, maybe that's a good thing. On one level it is, it has this very spiritualizing force, but it also means Ketu is exceptionally strong. And it's also, so think of this, Jupiter, planet Jupiter, which is the Mahadasha, which means this is the car that Trump's soul is currently driving in. Jupiter is the 8th house lord via Pisces. So his soul is already in an 8th house kind of way. And on top of that, he's in the Ketu. Ketu is driving the car, so to speak, the Bhukti. And Ketu is the planet, the node of losses. This is not looking good, and it is about to eclipse both Sun and Moon, the luminaries in Trump's chart, on the 14th of December. And it's also, on top of that, Mars will be directly aspecting the 2nd house. From the 8th house would be aspecting Trump's natal Neptune and natal retrograde Jupiter. This does not bode well. This does not bode well. If we imagine Mars here, Mars aspects 4 places, 7 places, and 8 places from itself. So 1, 2, 3, 4. He's looking at Trump's 11th house, which is all about one's wider communications, wider social groups, maybe certain groups and guilds and stuff that Trump supports. So maybe there could be some aggression around that. And then if we go here, 4, 5, 6, 7, again, by opposition, looking at Trump's 2nd house, which is a marker house, looking at Neptune and retrograde 8th Lord Jupiter natally. And then we also look here, if we go 7, 8, this is Mars's full 8th aspect, which is happening on the 3rd house of communications. So there is looking like, you know, when one puts that all together, this is not looking good for Trump at all. Not only that, Rahu, the North Node, will be going through Trump's 10th house of career. And Rahu is very unpredictable. The nodes are very unpredictable. Rahu normally does very well in the 10th house, and he'll be exalted in the sign of Taurus. Again, very, very powerful. So you never know, this could be an about face for Trump where, like I said, but it might take some kind of epiphany for that to happen. When one takes in all the factors, it is not looking good because there is a lot stacking up against Trump. So whoever's looking after him is going to have to look after him extremely well, because the pressure is only going to increase with time. We know that he's behind in the polls. there may be a sympathy vote, particularly if his health worsens, but it's probably not going to be enough to bring him home, because remember, Trump used his malefic speech to mock the virus, and he teased Joe Biden and cussed out his family as well, by the way, which, you know, after that terrible debate, you know, there's not many people that are going to be voting for Trump outside of his kind of, his base, let's just put it that way. So when one adds this up all together, this is not looking good, particularly as this eclipse is happening in the 4th house of the heart. But this can also refer to the homeland, because whenever the leader's chart and the nation's chart become intertwined. So, especially as well, as I've mentioned in prior videos, anyone like Trump who's got Mars in the 1st house and certain other positions, they'll become masters of real estate in some way, because that Mars, as you can see here by Drishti, aspects the 4th house. So this is very much representative of the White House. So the White House is being eclipsed in some way via Trump's heart. And I think what could potentially happen is it could be that Trump's heart gives out, or maybe he has a stroke or something like that, or some kind of aneurysm, because the moon is also the mind, maybe a vein bursts, or, you know, something like that. You know, this could result in him not being here. I mean, obviously that's a very hardcore thing to say, but when one looks at it, it's not good for his health. This is a man of advanced age. Remember, he's 74. He's not young. Now, if he didn't have coronavirus, you know, he could obviously carry on for, you know, much longer, but the point is he does, and this is a very deadly condition. And the gods move in very interesting ways. Saturn, the planet of karma, here in the 12th house of Donald Trump's chart, is direct, and this means this brings the karmas forward rapidly. Karmas rapidly ripen when Saturn is direct, particularly when he's in his own sign of Capricorn, which refers to the government. On top of that as well, for a Leo ascendant, Saturn is highly malefic because he rules the 6th house of health. Yeah, the 6th house of health, and it goes to the 12th in Donald Trump's chart, which is also the house of losses. Now, what I would say is this, is that when the 6th house ruler is a malefic and goes to the 12th house, it's very good for defeating one's enemies, yeah? But it's not so hot for the health when one is in that sort of cusp of the Mahadasha of Saturn, which is, you know, according to other people's iron umptures, he is in Jupiter Saturn, but according to my one, he is just moved into Ketu. Either way, it's not good, because you're going to have the 6th lord in the 6th house, where it would directly aspect itself, you know, Saturn aspecting itself in the 12th at a very low degree. His Saturn is very weak. In terms of his chart, it's less than 1 degree. It's 0 minutes 42 seconds. This is not this is not a Saturn that has a lot of strength. So, and it also as well, it doesn't do very well in the sign of Cancer. So I am going to leave it there. This is quite a short video, but I just wanted to kind of put that out there on a record that astrologically at the least, and as well as physically, Trump is in a lot of danger here. There is a lot that could go wrong. Let's just say he'll do well to pull out of this. If he does, and he emerges unscathed, it could be an epiphany for him. It really could. It could actually be an epiphany. He could have some kind of spiritual breakthrough, because, you know, Ketu is that strong, particularly in the sign of Scorpio. Tremendous power, where he's exalted. Or it could be a total eclipse. We could be looking at either mental breakdown. If not mental breakdown, then certainly some potentially huge losses. Huge losses. In fact, by him being positive is already counting as a loss, but this could be even more. So the next few weeks, particularly midway through December, and with that eclipse coming up, you know, really Trump has got to kind of make it to next year, because the astrological weather for him is not great. I wish my message could be a little bit more positive, but I just wanted to be real and just let people know astrology is very, very powerful. And we'll just have to see, particularly as Mars is going to be looking at that Chiron, that wounded healer. So, you know, Trump's health is not great. There could be issues where COVID could aggravate his underlying conditions and even affect the heart, or some kind of thrombosis or something, you know, but it's not looking good. So let's hope he makes it through it. But there's a lot of karma ripening in Donald Trump's chart right now. So look, I'll leave it there. If you would like a consultation with me and to find out what's going on in your chart, or where your talents are, or what's going on with your money or your finances, or what kind of Mahadasha sequence you're in, or what's going to happen next year, or any questions you might have, please visit my website at thearchetypalblueprint.com. If you've liked this video, please like and subscribe and comment, and please click the thumbs up or the bell notification, because that lets the algorithms know that you've liked this video, and it helps me do more. Let's see what happens. These are transformative times. I've told everyone, hold on to your buckles, you know, your bootstraps, because there's a lot going on, and astrologically, the astrological weather is even more intense. And Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter, you know, they're all coming together in the same house on the winter solstice as well. So this is profound change for America. Lots is going to happen, but it's also profound change for Donald Trump. And let's see what happens. But it doesn't bode well. But you know, let's just see. Maybe he might, you know, pull through, and it could all just be another one of his kind of moments, reality TV moments. But this time I'm not sure, and this is why I made the video, but you never know. Anyway, I will leave it there. Thanks for tuning in so much, and yes, join me in my next episode. Also as well, I've got my Michael Jackson video up as well. That I had some copyright issues and stuff, but you can watch it with just the intro removed, which was pretty good. But feel free to check that out. And also as well, you can, if you go to my website, you can also follow my newsletter as well, which I'm just about to write up for October. So thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye.